Hi and welcome back. Today I've got an old Ryobi trimmer. It's a model 2800R, 28 cc's. What I'll be showing you today is how to replace the fuel line on this trimmer. Now a lot of the more modern trimmers made by Ryobi also have the same fuel line system as this, so it will apply to those ones as well. If it looks like this, then it's the same thing that you need to do. Here's another trimmer. It's a McCulloch, but it's also made by Ryobi. And it's got the same system of fuel line there, as you can see. So if your trimmer looks like this, it's the same as what I'm doing today. Now before you get started, you have to remove the 4 torque screws on the back cover. So one here, one there, and 2 at the bottom here. And they're a size T20. And now the cover is just going to pop out. Bring your choke knob to the center here. So when you get that cover off, you're going to see a couple fuel lines. First of all, the line that's broke is the line that comes from the fuel filter on the tank here and connects here to this little connector, and then works its way down to the bottom connector of the carburetor. And there's another fuel line on the top of the carb which works its way to the primer over here. Now the bottom line here on the primer just simply goes into the fuel tank. So basically it's just in there about 3/4 of an inch inserted in there. It's got no filter on it. So it's that simple. So we're just going to replace this line here. Make sure you've drained the fuel from your gas tank. Next you want to remove this little washer. Next you can push the filter with the old line into the fuel tank. And now just basically flip the machine over and shake it till the old filter comes out. The old filter, the filter itself isn't bad, but the fuel line was rotted right through. Actually the filter is bad. There's a bit of rust-like stuff that's gone into it, so it's no more good. Now the parts that you need for this are part number 791682039. It's an MTD part, and this is what it consists of. The filter with the line and the little washer to hold it in. When you use this line now, you're not going to need this little connector in between. I don't know why they put that there. So this part here eliminates this connector. So what I do before I get started on installing a new fuel line is I cut it on a 45-degree angle. Reason for that is because I have to insert it in through the hole through the fuel tank, and if it's cut on an angle it's easier to get into the hole. So now I'm going to have to insert that line through the tank here. It's a bit tricky, and then make it go through that hole here underneath. Just look inside the fuel tank and try to insert it into the hole. If you're having a really difficult time doing this, you can grab a piece of wire like this, insert it through the hole underneath, then once you got the wire over here, insert your fuel line in there, make sure the wire is not sharp, and then pull on the wire. And the wire should bring the fuel line right to the hole. Just like that. Now here's where comes the difficult part. You have to practically insert the filter by pulling on the line right up to here with the connector included. So you have to pull this all the way down. Before you start pulling, you may want to put some liquid wrench in there, or inside on the filter, or on the fuel line I mean, and then you have to pull the fuel line like that until you see the connector come out. You can also reach in with your finger and push on the filter if you're able to. You can see there after a lot of pulling it's starting to come out. Kind of good if you can grab it as close to the connector as you can and wiggle it. If you can reach in the tank and push on the filter at the same time, it's even better. Then you can look inside the fuel tank to make sure that the filter is snug down against the fuel tank. You can see right down there, and it's good. Now when you're doing this, don't worry about breaking the fuel line as long as you're grabbing it close enough to there. Don't grab it way at the bottom and pull. Try to get as close to the connector as you can. Now once you've got the line through the tank, insert the little washer that came with it. It's a retainer. And push it in all the way. This little washer has to be snug right up against the fuel tank. So once that's installed, run the fuel line through the hole over here. It's going to come out the back. At this point, if you haven't removed the old line, do so now. If you find the line hard to get off the connector, just splice it with your X-Acto. Now you can cut the tip of your new line nice and flat. And now you want to connect it to the bottom connector on the carburetor. It should go on there nice and tight. And push it in at least ½ inch or more. So once you've got it on, inspect all your lines to make sure they're good. Same as the top line over here. And then it just goes through. Check all the primer lines. Check your primer to make sure it's not cracked, because it won't run right if it is. Now gas it up and make sure you've got no leaks. Now before I put the back cover on here, I'm going to try it out to see if it's running good. And I'll go from there. Running good. I'm just going to put back the cover with the 4 Torx screws. Again, you can line up your choke lever to the middle. Makes it easier to put the cover back on. And then just get your 4 Torx screws on. So that's all there is to it. It's not that hard. Just squeezing in the connector after you've inserted it through the tank is a bit harder. But just be patient and work it in, and you should be able to do this.